All right, let's look at these sources we've gathered. They're all focused on Stillwater, Minnesota,
Hmm.
which is right there on the St. Croix River. Looks like a really charming place, and these documents kind of give us a feel for it, especially one specific piece of engineering there.
That's right. We've got some good details here that sort of shed light on Stillwater's connection to the river, why people like visiting, and
Right.
yeah, especially the old lift bridge, how it works, how it deals with all the boat traffic.
Right.
The idea is to put this all together so you, the listener, can almost feel like you're right there seeing how it operates.
Exactly. Like you can really picture it. So we'll touch on what makes Stillwater appealing, and then walk through this uh, really unique trail. It crosses the river twice,
Yeah, the loop trail.
which leads us right to the main event,
Yeah.
the historic lift bridge. And we really want to dig into how it functions for boats, the when and the how of the lifting part.
Yeah, it's sort of about understanding the logistics, I guess. How do people on the trail and boats on the water share that same spot?
Okay, so first off, Stillwater itself. The sources point out it's pretty close to Minneapolis, maybe 30 minutes drive.
Mm-hmm. Seems like it. Makes it easy for a day trip from the Twin Cities.
And its big feature is being right on the St. Croix River. Beautiful river.
Yeah, and the sources talk about recreation there too. There's hiking nearby, like Fairy Falls, though it sounds like a bit of a climb.
Not a simple walk then.
Apparently not. And there's also the Arcola Bluffs area with trails heading towards that big Arcola High Bridge.
And the town itself, Stillwater's downtown, seems to really embrace the river.
Mm.
Shopping, restaurants, hotels, right along the waterfront.
Yeah, the sources mention the city keeps those riverfront areas looking nice, well-maintained, inviting.
So it's not just looking at the river, it's interacting with it.
Yeah.
Which brings us to that trail you mentioned.
Right, the St. Croix River Crossing Loop Trail. That's a big feature in these documents.
Okay, tell me about this trail. It's a loop, you said.
Yeah, about 4.7 to 5 miles long. It's paved, and it's just for people walking or biking. No cars allowed on it. And the really unique thing is how it makes a loop. It crosses the St. Croix River twice, connecting Minnesota and Wisconsin.
How does it do that? Using two bridges.
Exactly. It uses the old historic Stillwater Lift Bridge for one crossing.
The one we're focusing on.
Right, and then it uses the newer St. Croix River Crossing Bridge. That's the big one that carries Highway 36 traffic, but it has a separate path for the trail users.
Ah, clever. So you get different experiences crossing.
Definitely. The scenery changes too. In Stillwater, you might be right down by the water through town.
Maybe near some big embankments, I think I saw mentioned. 20 feet.
Yeah, sounds about right in spots. Then you cross into Wisconsin, and it feels more rural, sometimes right by the water, sometimes further back, like through fields.
And is it flat or hilly?
It's a mix, typical river valley, some flat parts parallel to the river, but getting down to the bridges or back up involves some hills.
Okay.
And the sources are pretty clear. The Wisconsin side, coming off the lift bridge, that's a steep climb.
How steep?
They mention an 8% grade. People reviewing it apparently call it very steep.
Wow. Okay, so maybe tough if you've got a stroller or a mobility device.
Yeah, something users definitely point out. Worth knowing beforehand.
But despite the hills, people seem to really like the loop.
Oh, yeah, the reviews sound great. Wonderful scenery, fun experience overall. And there are facilities, too.
Like what?
Restrooms, parking lot, sounds like several on both sides of the river. There's even a self-serve bike repair station in Wisconsin, picnic spots, benches, signs explaining things.
Pretty well set up then.
Seems like it. Oh, and one thing for drivers parking on the Wisconsin side, if it's St. Croix County property, you need a park pass.
Good tip.
And this loop trail, it also connects to other regional trails, Browns Creek State Trail, Gateway Trail, so you can extend your ride or walk.
Okay, that gives a great sense of the trail itself. Now let's zoom in on that historic bridge making half the crossing possible. The Stillwater Lift Bridge, built in 1931.
That's the one. And yeah, now it's just for the trail users, pedestrians, cyclists, close to cars.
And we already know about that steep part on the Wisconsin side.
Right, a key feature for anyone on the trail. But its original job, and still a vital one, is letting boats through on the St. Croix. It lifts.
It's a vertical lift bridge, right? The middle part goes straight up.
Exactly. That center span, the part you walk or bike on, rises vertically between two towers to let taller boats pass underneath.
Now, these sources, they don't really get into the gears and counterweights of this specific bridge, do they?
Not the mechanical nitty-gritty, no. But what they do detail really clearly is the system for operating it. When it lifts, how it lifts, who makes it lift. For the boats.
Okay, so what's the system? Is there someone always there?
Well, during the main season, yeah. It's staffed every day from 8 in the morning until midnight.
And when's that season?
Generally, late April or early May through late October. Depends a bit on the weather and, staffing resources each year.
Okay, so 8 a.m. to midnight during the season. What if a boat needs to get through then? Does it just lift automatically?
Ah, good question. There's a schedule involved, set by the Coast Guard, that runs from May 15th to October 15th.
A fixed schedule.
Sort of. The sources say it lifts on that schedule. One says every half hour. Another refers to a specific graphic if boat traffic is present and actually needs the lift.
Ah, okay. So it's not just lifting constantly on the hour and a half hour, whether a boat's there or not.
Exactly. It's demand-based, but within those scheduled windows. If a boat needs passage during a scheduled lift time, up it goes. If no boat, it stays down.
That makes sense. Saves unnecessary operation. What about after midnight, though? Outside those staffed hours?
Right. Between midnight and 8 a.m., if a boat needs passage, they need to arrange a special opening.
How do they do that?
They have to call MNDOT's dispatch. There's a 24-hour number. And crucially, they need to give 2 hours notice.
2 hours, okay. And how does the boat captain talk to the bridge? Radio?
Yep. The bridge tenders monitor Marine Band radio, Channel 16, when they're on duty.
Standard channel.
Right. If a request comes in on 16, the tender phones it in to the dispatcher, and then for the actual communication during the lift, they usually switch over to Channel 14.
Okay, got it. What about way outside the season, like January? Assuming the river isn't frozen solid.
Still possible, but needs even more planning. Outside the late October to early May season, you need to give 24 hours notice using that same MNDOT dispatch number.
Wow, that is surprisingly detailed. It
Yeah.
really shows the whole system behind making sure boats can still use the river, even with the bridge being mainly for recreation now.
It really does. It's all about managing the staffing, sticking to that demand-triggered schedule, and having clear ways for boaters and the bridge operators to communicate. A lot goes into it.
Yeah, you don't usually think about all that, which brings us back to just being there, experiencing it.
If you walk or bike that loop, you really feel that contrast, right? Crossing on this nearly century-old lift bridge.
And then crossing back on this big modern highway bridge
Yeah.
with totally different views of the river valley.
Exactly. And if you happen to be there during the lift season, during those staffed hours,
8 a.m. to midnight.
and you know about the schedule and that it only lifts if a boat needs it, you might actually see it happen.
You could imagine hearing the radio call, maybe? Seeing the crossing arms come down for the trail?
Yeah, and then watching that whole center section just glide upwards between the towers, letting a sailboat or a bigger cruiser pass through,
Before it settles back down and people start walking across again.
and dealing with that steep climb on the Wisconsin side. It's all part of it. Kind of reminds you why the bridge is needed in the first place, that deep river valley.
So wrapping it up then, Stillwater's got this great setting on the St. Croix.
Definitely. And this loop trail is a fantastic way to experience it, connecting Minnesota and Wisconsin using both the modern bridge and this historic lift bridge.
And the sources really gave us the inside scoop on the operational side of that lift bridge. The schedule, the staffing, how boats request passage. It's quite a system.
It is. It shows how that piece of infrastructure keeps serving river navigation, even as its main daily use has shifted to recreation.
Yeah, it's a great example of how things adapt, isn't it? From maybe horse-drawn carriages originally, then cars, and now bikes and pedestrians.
While still making way for the boats. It's like a constant negotiation between different ways of moving through the same space.
It really is. It makes you think, how many different lives can one bridge have? And what does that evolution tell us about how we balance transportation needs with recreation, especially along vital waterways like the St. Croix?